Peggle. Hello and welcome to another episode, a bit of a mini episode probably, of Ferret 64. Hope you're all doing fantastic this week or this weekend or whatever day you're listening to this on. I hope you're having a good day. If you want to check it out, the top 10 games, the top 10 video games of 2024 video/podcast episode is out now on YouTube and podcast platforms. If you want to check out the YouTube version, it does have more flair to it because there's video and stuff involved, but you can also listen to the podcast version if you want to. I also have some honorable mentions in there as well this year, so if you want to check that out, it is available right now, and I actually wouldn't mind you pausing this and going back and checking that out if you so desire, because it's a pretty important video for me. Obviously, it takes a whole year of work to get done because playing through games and figuring out what I liked best in the year. And hey, maybe you'll find something that you missed out on, and you want to check that out. So yeah, I wouldn't mind you pausing this video or podcast and going to that one if you so desire. Then come back after that, you know. But yeah, I am Yemmy the Ferret. Let's jump into this week's big video game news, occurrences, first impressions, and so much more. And we're gonna start off with what am I gonna call this? We'll just do what was announced at that. No. This is the hardest part of my podcast career right now. We'll do the sound effect for what was announced at that gaming showcase, and we'll just say, let's look at the Switch 2. All right, yes. It was finally revealed, and the Switch 2, it is officially called the Switch 2, Nintendo Switch 2. And the leaks are pretty much all right. There was really nothing in here that I saw that was like, oh, that wasn't leaked. Well, I guess there was like one or two things, I should say. One was a very big surprise, which we'll get to. I just want to start this off by saying, when I covered the Switch leaks that happened, I wasn't actually expecting Nintendo to release any information about the Switch this month. When I was looking through all of my notes on it, I was like, oh yeah, Nintendo's gonna wait until probably next month at this point, so that this kind of subsides and people kind of forget about it, right? But no, the Nintendo decided to release a video like a couple days after those big leaks. I think it was like on Wednesday or Thursday. And, I just wanted to apologize because, I helped spread the information around. Obviously, I didn't show too much, but I did talk about it pretty in depth. And, obviously, that's why I put timestamps in the description of the podcast episode. So if you want to skip something, you can. Obviously, if you didn't want to be spoiled or if you didn't want to hear the leaks about the Switch 2, you could skip over that section of the podcast, obviously. But I do want to apologize because I did help spread the information, and I wasn't, doing it maliciously. It was more so if I don't talk about this and then they do reveal the Switch a week later, or if someone is like, hey, you didn't talk about the Switch leaks, I can at least be like, yes, I did. Check, I talked about it. So that being said, because of the leaks, some of this stuff had a little bit less punch than I think it would have. But I still think that the reveal video and the reveal of all the different new features that it was kind of hinting at was very nice. So right off the bat, they changed up how the Switch Joy-Cons work. Instead of it being coming out of the top and then sliding back in place, they do click in from the sides, and there's a new sound effect for that click in the sides that they'll probably use for all the promotional stuff. And one of the main things that people were maybe a bit worried about is, well, what if I break that? What if I don't line them up correctly and I break it? I heard this on I think it was Woodhawker Beat 'em Ups on YouTube, who was comparing it to a UBC port on your phone, and saying, well, there's also a little thing in there as well. You could obviously stick a screwdriver in there or a flathead screwdriver in there and break that if you want to. But when you put your USB-C cable into it, there's no wiggle room. It goes in the same way almost pretty much every single time, right? With a little bit of exception, right? So I feel like the same thing for the Switch 2 here is like you're going to put those Joy-Cons on, they're going to slide on, and you're never going to have to worry about them possibly breaking because there's only one way to slide them on. And obviously, they're going to put that deeper into the connection spot so that, when you're putting the Switch 2 controller on, there is like a groove that it goes into, and it doesn't allow any wiggle room. Now, obviously, once again, if you want to stick a flathead screwdriver in there and break it, you probably could, but that's, of course, a dumb idea. And obviously, like, sure, little kids might do that, like small children who don't fully understand what they're doing, right? I could definitely see, like, a kid or something or someone, who's breaking it off because they put a toy in there or whatever, but once again, I don't think that's Nintendo's fault per se. I just think that, like, I think the design is fine. I think it's a clean design. From the video that they showed, though, there's really I was thinking that there was going to be like some sort of like protector around it that everything seeds into as well, because from what they showed, the little like spot for the connector to plug into is on the controller. And there's really nothing on the Switch itself to protect, I guess you would say, the connector on the Switch side of things. And I was hoping it was going to be more like a phone where there's like a ridge around it to make sure that it goes in place, every single time in the right way. And if you get it off a little bit, it might stop it. But in the video itself, it just kind of shows it as like a connector sticking out of the Switch. Now, obviously, Nintendo has had a lot of time to develop this console. They have had more time than any other console that they've worked on, especially between the Wii U and the Switch. A lot of people, including myself, think that the Switch was a bit rushed when it came out, and obviously it was. But there was a lot of technical problems, people having issues with their consoles. They obviously ironed that stuff out pretty quickly, but the point stands that they definitely had to work a bit faster on the Switch because the Wii U did not do so well. And they also had I guess the Wii was before that, so it doesn't really matter. But that being said, they had a lot more time to work on this because the Switch was successful. It still is successful. I believe it's like the second best-selling console of all time at this point. I didn't fact-check myself, so if you could do that for me, that'd be great. But that's the thing, though. They had time. They had all the time in the world, and I think that the thing that they ran out of was the fans' patience. I think a lot of people were, like, ready to get this going, right? There's a lot of people whose careers are based around what Nintendo is doing. They talk about Nintendo stuff 24/7. There's a lot of people who their first inclination is like, oh, we get to test this thing out. We get to do whatever with that. And they want that now. They want it. They want it. And, I mean, a lot of us wanted it. Like, I was ready for them to reveal this a year ago at this point. But obviously, I think that it got delayed in the background. And now they're kind of, like, forced to put out this video. I feel like this video was supposed to be released actually, like, closer to April, which is when they're going to be doing, like, a Nintendo Switch 2 Direct on April 2nd, in April of 2nd, 2025. So I think that they were going to release this video closer to that to kind of build some hype for it. Like maybe in late March or mid-March they were going to do that. But because of these leaks by Genki and others, it kind of forced Nintendo's hand to be like, well, okay, fine. We'll put out the video. Hopefully that'll quell some animosity, and then we can kind of get going, right? But look, I mean, let's look at this thing. I mean, if you want to watch the video, it's obviously on Nintendo of America's YouTube channel. The video is very clean. They kind of show you an original Switch, and they just kind of like do stuff to it. So initially they make the screen much larger, and obviously I'm thinking that this is going to ship with an OLED screen as well, which would be great. They show that the plus and minus button, the power button, all that. They also show headphone jack, and they show a USB-C connector on both the top and the bottom of the console. So a lot of people are obviously going to speculate about this. The one on the bottom is obviously for the dock. There's a new dock that's included, which probably is the one from the OLED model, just kind of spruced up a bit. Well, the one on the top could be used for any number of things. It could be used for a separate screen to attach to it for like 3DS style gameplay. It could be for various other adaptable things for this console. Also, it could just be for like, hey, if you want to plug your controller in and you don't feel like plugging it into the dock, boom, boom, there you go. But yeah, there you go. They also show that the controllers are a little bit bigger as well. The new kickstand for it is like a U shape, which I think is a great idea. Obviously, the OLED had a good idea too, having like the entire like back of the console flip out. But the U-shaped stand on the back is also a nice thing. I was kind of hoping that they were going to call it the Switch U because of the U-shaped stand. But yeah, that didn't happen. The stand is also very flexible. They showed that the stand was very flexible. On top of that, the mysterious C button that people were talking about is not seemingly on the controller, so you don't have to worry about that. They got the home button, they got the screenshot button, plus and minus are back. Like it's pretty much the same controller from the outside, but they definitely spruce some things up. Also, I forgot to mention there's a jet black look to this, which is a very sleek looking design, and then there's red and blue accents for the two controllers on the sides. Obviously, I was talking about this last week. There's like this little like lens that kind of looks like a mouse lens on the inside. There seems to be some sort of, you know how the Joy-Cons have that attachable thing with the wristband on it that you can plug into it or slide onto it. They kind of have that same idea here, but it seems to turn the controller into a bit of a mouse. And in the video, they show like the Joy-Cons drifting around, which obviously Joy-Con drift, a bit of a triggering sentence there. But yeah, essentially like they have the Joy-Con on the side. I wish I had one on me. And they're riding around like this, and there's like a special attachment that they snuck onto the device on the bottom, and that probably makes it more available to skirt around. So I think that's a great idea for this, and it looks like both controllers have that functionality. On top of all that, they showed most likely the next Mario Kart. People counted it out. There's 24 racers on this track. It's a huge track. It's like in the desert, and there's like it's almost like a Route like 66 or whatever kind of vibe to it. And they showed all these different racers. They showed all like they're going off road. It seems like, or obviously they're still following a track, but they showed a very minuscule amount of gameplay. But it definitely looks like a new Mario Kart game. Obviously, these character models look more detailed. They look updated, especially Donkey Kong, who looks more like his older counterpart, like back in like the like the Donkey Kong days where it was like Mario versus Donkey Kong, stuff like that. Obviously, people are equating it to, well, it also looks like the Mario Bros. Movie version. Yes, it does, but that version was based on the original Donkey Kong artwork from the arcade game. So it looks like that, not so much the Mario Bros. Movie. I'm not like super crazy about the change. I don't feel like they needed to change him at all, but there you go. They also showed like there's probably some like new thing or new gimmick with this. Obviously, Nintendo does a lot of gimmicks with their various IPs, but there's like this small flame that you can see inside of this drive-through, and it might be some sort of like extra boost or something like that. Originally, I thought it was like an item box, but it's moving. So maybe it's just an obstacle or not. I don't know. But that was the big surprise of the reveal. That was the thing that no one saw coming. Also, Nintendo Switch 2 can play Nintendo Switch games. Nintendo Switch 2 plays both physical and digital Nintendo Switch games. Certain Nintendo Switch games may not be supported or be fully compatible with the Switch 2. Details will be shared on Nintendo Switch on the Nintendo website at a later date. So it seems like most Switch games are going to work. It might be. I don't know if there's the IR sensor on this controller. I didn't really get a good look at the bottom of it. Yeah, okay. It looks like the IR sensor is still there, so that's not the issue. Who knows what it could be? I expect them to still have the HD rumble inside the controllers. I still expect them to have that IR sensor. I still expect them to, have some sort of maybe there is some sort of mystery button on here because it's still not really sure. But anyway, the dock itself, it looks much like the OLED dock, so nothing really that different there. This is coming. It is coming in 2025, and by my estimation, Nintendo Direct in April, and they're doing all these different. What are they called? Pop-up shops or whatever, hands-on events. Those end the first week of June. Those pop-up events for trying out the Nintendo Switch 2. So it is, by my estimation, I believe that it's going to be coming in like mid-June, maybe early July. But I'm thinking mid-June would be the release date for this. It seems to be releasing with a Mario Kart game, a new Mario Kart game, which I did mention a couple of times. I obviously moved more into like the Metroid Prime area where I'm like, well, it's probably going to launch with Metroid Prime now, right? But showing the Mario Kart on that screen, it definitely seems like it's going to be a Mario Kart game, being the launch game. Hopefully it's not like a Breath of the Wild situation where the game releases like a day after the launch day, you know? I think the other thing too is like since this console can play so many games from the Switch 1, I don't know if the lineup is going to be too strong from the get-go. You kind of saw that with the PS5 where that also could play PS4 games. So the PS5 kind of had a weaker launch for its games. But if it's like Metroid Prime 4 enhanced on the Switch 2, right? And it's also Mario Kart being the 2 day one releases, and possibly even a pack-in like mini game like Astro's Playroom, something like that. I think that would be a decent launch window for video games for the console. And people are already speculating like, oh, there's going to be a new Mario game, 3D Mario game. Oh, there's going to be a new blah 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 blah. I'll wait until I see it to believe it, right? But the Mario Kart and Metroid Prime 4 being launch titles on the system seems pretty plausible. But once again, they also don't need to really worry about overloading us with launch titles because all the games for the Switch 1 work on the Switch 2. They didn't say anything about enhancements when you plug it into a Switch 2. It probably just plays exactly the way it's supposed to. I'm guessing that... I am guessing that they will at least enlarge the screen, so like the resolution will be better for the games, but that might be it, you know. Boy, other than that, yeah, I mean, you know, it's gonna be a long 2 months waiting for April 2nd, but we've waited this long for Nintendo Switch 2, any Nintendo Switch 2 information. So, you know, what's another couple months to get more information about it, and hopefully during that they'll show off some of the games coming to it. And we'll see if there is actually a 3D platformer Mario or, you know, whatever this Mario Kart game is, Mario Kart 9, whatever they're going to call it. I'm excited to see what they have cooking. Even though a lot of this stuff was spoiled in the leaks, I was still very happy while watching it, and I was still very excited. I am still very hyped for this. I think that's going to be I think it's going to be an amazing upgrade for the original Switch. I still have my original Switch. I've had that thing for 7 years. Actually, on the day that I bought my Switch 7 years ago, they revealed the Switch 2 trailer, which I thought was just kind of funny. Or not, well, not funny, not like haha funny, but just kind of a cool thing, you know? Like, oh, I bought my Switch 7 years ago on the same day that they revealed the Switch 2 officially. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, other than that, very, very excited. I was also going to say, if you are a person who is gaming on a budget, it might be smart to start putting aside some money, because I feel like this is going to be like a $400 console, so in that range, $400 to $450. So I would recommend like maybe put like $100 aside, you know, here or there. In the next coming months up until June, maybe even like, you know, $50 every 2 weeks, space it out a little bit. I know I'm going to be putting about $100 aside every month for the console, so that I can get it day one. And it seems like day one will be very plausible because I believe Nintendo revealed that they have 20 million units ready to go, which is a lot of units. They definitely. I think that part of the delay for this console was also they just wanted to get a good enough stock that people aren't going to be fighting over it like the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, and the scalpers won't be able to grab up all the consoles. And Nintendo has also dealt with this before, where like the Wii launched, and that was like, people were barging in the stores and ripping them off of shelves and out of people's hands, right, and selling them online. I remember like someone was selling like the Nintendo Wii box, and it sold for like $300 because someone thought it was a real console, but it was just the cardboard box, and someone got paid very handsomely for that box, which obviously was awful too. I believe they got in trouble, but yeah, I think that Nintendo is trying to avoid that. And if they do really have 20 million units ready to go or almost ready to go, that is pretty crazy. I mean, you think of 20 million. Maybe I read that wrong. Maybe no, I remember seeing the 20 million graphic. I don't know. Doesn't really matter in the end because it's all just speculation. But they probably do have a very large amount of consoles ready to go, and they're probably expecting this to sell out day one. So I've already I've already signed up for emails from Best Buy for when it's going to launch. I set up in a reminder that the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct is on April 2nd, and I'm ready to go. I am ready to go, and I am so excited to play this new console. We've been playing the same console for years now. It's been, what, 9-10 years since it came out? Something like that? Something crazy like that? Like, very long-lived console, though. And supported all the way through. Like, even last year where people thought, like, Nintendo's going to slow down their production. No, we got, like, 3-4 big games. Sure, 2 of them were, like, remakes, being Mario vs. Donkey Kong and The Thousand Year Door. But still, I mean, that's a solid amount of games. And obviously this year, we already have gotten Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, and we're going to be getting Metroid Prime 4 sometime. So I think that the Switch users, we definitely ate well during its tenure. Lots of series came back. Lots of series had revivals. A couple of series had remasters and remakes, and I think that they did a great job with the output of games for the Switch. And we'll see what they do with the Switch 2. Probably going to be pretty cool. I just want to read this statement from Hideki Kamiya, who was the original creator of Okami, Bayonetta, and Devil May Cry. And because his comments are pretty brutal, in a quote he said, "I hope that all the people who leaked Switch 2 information, those who helped leak it, will be cursed for the rest of their lives to always have poop on the soles of their shoes when they get home. Now that I've enjoyed the surprise announcement of Okami with all the users, I truly believe that all the damn leakers should be cursed. The shitty leaker only acts for his own pleasure and self-satisfaction." There's also money involved too, obviously. Not only is he not contributing to anyone's benefit, he is incurring all sorts of opportunity losses and has done nothing to be proud of in front of others. He is the worst scum, so he should be covered in shit from head to toe and thrown out to the atmosphere and then stop thinking and wander forever. These damn leakers are in a position of responsibility where they have access to information that only a very select few know. Yet, what they do is nothing more than an expression of a filthy desire for approval that lacks a shred of rationality. They are shameful people, so it is not the manufacturers whose secrets have been exposed who should be the blame, but those damn people that they need to be crushed as soon as possible. And I was like, whoa, hold on, I just reported on it. But I did help spread the information, I suppose. Although I will, in my defense... Okay, the Switch 2 Leaks episode. Let me look at it in my YouTube studio right now. That episode has 2 views on it on YouTube, okay? In my defense, it is a very low-watched podcast episode. Let me look on my Spotify here. And it has it has 13 plays on Spotify, so... Because of that, should I be cursed to have shit on my shoe for the rest of my life? I sure hope not. But once again, I do apologize if you did get spoiled from my podcast, announcements and talks. I do apologize. But once again, I do put the timestamps in every single episode, and I've been doing more detailed timestamps here and there too. So I can't take full blame for anything, but I will apologize because I think it's the right thing to do. I apologize. So there you go. All right, the Pokemon trading card game Pocket, which is still a very long name, has detailed some new features arriving this month. They are the ability to trade between friends. In a statement, they said today, we wanted to provide more details on the new trade feature coming your way this month. Here are a few highlights you can look forward to. Trades can be done between friends. Trades can be done with cards of the same rarity. At the time of the trade feature's launch, certain cards from the Genetic Apex and Mythical Island booster packs will be able to be traded. We are planning to continue to expand the selection of booster packs that you can trade from. Cards with a rarity of 1 to 4 diamond and 1 star can be traded. Items must be consumed in order to trade. So much like the rest of the game, there is a monetization aspect to it where I'm sure you get a free trade every day, or maybe a free whatever they're going to be called. You'll get a free item at the beginning of all this, and then you have to earn more as you go through it to be able to trade between people. They continue to say, we will continue to monitor player feedback and assess future updates to the trade feature while keeping in mind how to balance both the ease and enjoyability of collecting. They also confirmed that there is a new booster pack on the way, which will be added later this month as well. I'm sure that there will be more details available soon. I have been actually playing this, the Pokémon TCG app, and I am enjoying it. I'll talk about it later in the next section, but I think this is a good feature. I thought that this feature would have been available from the get-go. One of the big things about any card game is trading with your friends. I remember back in the day being at an ice rink, and it was during the highlight of the Yu-Gi-Oh craze, and I had brought my cards to the hockey rink, or not hockey. Well, technically it's a hockey rink, but it's an ice rink, indoor ice rink. And I remember trading cards with other people, and obviously sometimes you get, absolutely shanghaied while doing that, but that's just how it goes sometimes, I do recall trading Pokemon cards as well. I didn't have a lot of Pokemon cards when I was a kid, so it's just one of those things where it was more so like Yu-Gi-Oh for me, but the satisfaction of doing a trade with someone, people still do it to this day, and I thought that this would be this is a good idea for a feature on this app because trading is a big part of the community. Even though you can't sell the cards, trading them works just as well. Let's be honest. So, yeah, that is that. The new trade feature is getting ready for the TCG app, and they said that it will be available sometime in late January 2025. So they're kind of already there. So I'm guessing it's going to come within the next week or two, but we'll see. All right, Sony has canceled some live service games, which is not too shocking. The shocking thing about it is, though, that one of them was a God of War live-action game. Or not live-action, live service game. Live-action, wow, we're in, the future. Live service game was canceled. Now, I don't know how this God of War live-action... I did it again! I don't know how this God of War live service game would have worked, per se. Probably a bunch of people with their own God of War-esque characters going around an area, fighting enemies, and maybe teaming up to fight bosses. It's hard to say what exactly it would have been. Might have been cool, might not have been cool. It will never see the light of day, though. Apparently, these studios were working on this and other games for at least 5 years, since 2020, so that is a long time for them to be working on something just for it to be canceled. I'm sure we'll probably see a leak of a couple things here and there. About these games in the future, much like that Transformers game from last week. So Blue Point was the one that was working on the God of War one. After they finished up Demon Souls for the PS5, they were working on a live service God of War game, which was canceled as a result of a recent review. Apparently, Ben Studios was hiring people for a large project as well, but that was canceled as too. So obviously probably some people are going to lose their jobs from this. Hopefully they will just jump back on the ship and start working on something else. It is hard to see 4 or 5 years of your life kind of wasted. I mean, you still get paid, I guess, but it's one of those things where it's like you put effort and time into a game, and it just kind of like is done. It just gets canceled all of a sudden, and it's because of Concord. Let's all be honest here. It's because of Concord. Concord failed, and now the Sony is burning down the house per se for live service games, which this was expected. But I mean, look, if a game is 5 years into development and it's like right there, just go for it. I mean, Helldivers 2 was a gamble. That was the first PlayStation live service game that launched, and it also launched into a time of too many live service games. But Helldivers 2 succeeded because it was done decently well. It was the idea for the live service was fleshed out. It wasn't too heavily monetized, and it had a lot of stuff that you could just kind of like, you buy the game and you just go and do. Concord didn't seem well thought out. It obviously was a hero shooter and a brawler, which, Overwatch and Paladins kind of, have that. And then also like Marvel Rivals was also in like beta mode during the whole time that Concord was out. So it's like now we have like all these other games that are similar, that are better. So I think that Sony needed to maybe take a step back and see, like, what did we do wrong with this game in particular? It's not because it was a live service game per se. Obviously, live service is a point of contention right now. But it's not all, it didn't go wrong because it was just a live service game. Helldivers 2 was successful. So we need to look at what happened with this game in particular, and it's because you released a game that was very similar to many other games that are free, and you were trying to sell it for like $40, and it just wasn't, it wasn't there. It wasn't unique enough. It didn't have enough going on, and the roadmap wasn't solid enough for the game for people to really latch onto it. If it had released in free to play and you would have had to pay for some season passes, I think that the game would still be live to this day. But because they tried to monetize it by selling it for the $40 from the get go, and then it being kind of like a mediocre hero shooter, that's kind of what sunk it. And I mean, look, I mean, I think that another thing that happened was that the reveal trailer was also like very, like the CG reveal trailer was very misleading, and then they went into the actual gameplay, and it's like, I think everyone's faces went from like a bit of a smile to like a frown, because it's like, no, who really wanted something like this from PlayStation, who has always been a champion of like single player games and single player experiences, and obviously they've had their multiplayer hits. The Last of Us multiplayer was very much a hit, and they also had I can't think of it right now, but they had some multiplayer hits in there as well. But they've mostly been a straightforward single player, maybe co-op in there as well, like with Ghost of Tsushima and stuff like that, experience. And I think that because they deviated so much from that with Concord, and I mean Helldivers 2 is also a deviation from that, but once again that was done much better than Concord was. So that's the thing, I think that Sony needs to look at what happened with Concord and not apply it to every single live service game, because the God of War live service game, maybe that would have been a hit too if you just do it right? But I don't think anyone really wants more live service games from Sony anyway, so I don't even know if it was. I feel like if it was a God of War live service game and they did a reveal trailer for it and people were like, oh, a new God of War, let's go, and then it was revealed that it was a live service, people would have been also like happy and then like very angry or very sad, because it's just one of those things that's just kind of like a very big letdown for a lot of people. Is like, oh, my favorite series is going live service, huh? It's kind of like that. Sony also canceled that Last of Us. It was a battle royale, right? Which I think like that probably could have done fine if they had once again launched it free to play. But obviously that was canceled because the guy who was the leader of the Destiny 2 development team was like, "No, this is bad." I mean, Destiny 2 ain't doing too great right now, buddy. But still, we'll see what happens in the future. We'll see if anything else gets canceled. But apparently, there was like 5 games that was canceled so far from by Sony, that were kind of like blanketed over like a live service, genre. So there you go. All right, let's get into some things that are coming soon here. The Witcher 3 director is launching a new video game called The Blood of Dawnwalker. And thanks to General Kenobi in the Discord for bringing this game to my attention because I did not know about it. It's being published by Bandai Namco, but it is coming from the lead project director of Witcher 3, so you kind of maybe know what to expect. A big, expansive open world RPG, etc., etc. The Blood of the Dawnwalker is the first chapter in the company's brand new role-playing saga. It'll be similar to The Witcher 3. It will be single-player, open world, featuring dark fantasy AAA RPG action, and include a strong focus on story and narrative. There is a cinematic trailer out right now, which actually was a pretty decent trailer. Obviously, it's not going to really show what the game is all about, but it seems like a vampire or a vampire-esque kind of, I don't know, bad guy is hunting, is picking on the peasants, and you're a peasant, and you maybe unlock a new strength inside of you when you see the king, aka your father. Well, no, that wouldn't make you a peasant, I guess. I don't think he's your father, but you just see the king get slain because you're just kind of there, I guess. They showed maybe a little bit of gameplay at the very end, which did look pretty solid. Some enemy design looked kind of cool, but they did go very quickly with that. So I would like to see more gameplay of it, but the CG trailer was very good. Here's a description right here. Probably should have read this before anything else. You play as Conan, a young man turned into a Dawnwalker, forever treading the line between world of day and the realm of night. Use your skills and combine vampiric strength with human resolve as you take on a quest to save the ones you love. It's Blade! Face your foes, be they human or monster, or the ticking clock itself. Interesting. But remember, the real evil may bask in the sun's light, and the most loyal of allies could lurk in the cover of night. You're born to a peasant family as the oldest of 4 siblings. Cohen's childhood was not easy. He started working in the silver mines alongside his father when he was still a kid. So yeah, I guess maybe just see the king get killed, because in the CG trailer, he's definitely, this definitely looks like a king. He has a crown, and the Dawnwalker, takes the crown off and he destroys it. So I'm not sure. But yeah, if you want to check out that trailer, it's on Bandai Namco's YouTube channel, of course. If you want to check that out, it looks good. So I am interested to see more about it. All right, Sniper Elite Resistance. This is coming out on January 30th, so it's not too far out. They shared some new key features that are going to be in the game. First off, it's going to be a new standalone campaign type game. It is coming to Xbox Game Pass if you want to check it out there. Of course, the X-ray kill cans will be back. The gunplay physics will be back and more advanced than ever. There are new propaganda missions, which I'm guessing are missions where you just take down as much propaganda in France as you can. There will be authentic World War II weapons and customization for the French Resistance. I believe it's the French Resistance, right? Yeah. There is a invasion mode coming back for this one, so you can turn that off if you so desire, but you can have someone invade your game and try and hunt you down. Of course, this one features a new character. It's actually co-op, so you can actually play with another person as well if you so desire. But it's not Kyle Fairburn or whatever his name is coming into this one. It's a new character for the series, which kind of is as similar as the Sniper Elite VR game. And then also, there will be online multiplayer modes. They did not detail exactly what they are, but I'm guessing it's going to be like a team deathmatch, kind of like they did with Sniper Elite 4. And then, of course, there is a couple different versions of this. So there's the base game and a season pass. If you pre-order the game, you get the Target Führer campaign mission for free. You get a weapon skin and the Kar 98 rifle. Locked behind a pre-order bonus? I didn't read this beforehand. They're locking the Kar 98 behind a pre-order bonus? Maybe it's an early unlock? Which is the only way that I can justify this? The Kar 98, one of the most iconic World War II weapons being locked behind a pre-order bonus? That's shitty. That would be shitty. That would be very shitty. Even more shitty is the M1911 pistol is locked behind the deluxe edition, and you get 2-day early access to the game. God. I did not know that the Kar 98 was stuck behind a pre-order bonus. That is absolutely insane. that is unjustifiable. If you can only get the Car 98 from a pre-order bonus, that'll be absolutely ridiculous. And this also like screws over the people playing this on Xbox Game Pass, which I think they kind of designed it that way so that so like people actually go out and buy the game. But it's like why would you make the Xbox Game Pass version? So I think I'm gonna pre-order this for PS5 then. I guess I was gonna wait for the Xbox Game Pass version, but I mean you're gonna be missing out on the Car 98 if you don't pre-order it. That's insane. And like I said, that could just be like an early unlock, like maybe you have to level up your character to unlock the Car 98 or something. But they don't detail anything here other than unlock the Car 98. So that is absolutely absurd that they're locking these things behind pre-order bonuses. Maybe it'll be available as like an add-on later on, but that's still kind of shitty. They have to pay like $5 to get a gun that is one of the most recognizable guns in World War II history. Now, let's say that we get a bunch of like French rifles to shoot with that we have not seen before in the main campaign. That would be great because a lot of the games just kind of have the basic like, okay, here's the Springfield, here's the Car 98, here's the M1911, M1A1, here's the M1 Garand, a lot of them have that same thing, or the Mosin Nagant, which doesn't make any sense for where they are in most of these games, but whatever. So maybe they'll be focusing more on the French weaponry at the time for your character, so maybe that's why you don't get the Car 98 unlocked, which I still have a bit of a issue with because the Germans are still using it. You could definitely, I'm sure Resistance members, would pick up enemy weapons all the time. I guess we'll have to wait and see for the game to come out, but yeah, they're kind of forcing my hand here. I might have to pre-order this, and just because I want to get I want to make sure they have the Car 98. It's the Car 98. Whatever. So that's that. Sniper Elite Resistance, January 30th. A bit of controversy there right at the end. Was not expecting that. Okay, the Until Dawn movie has a trailer. It's coming out April 25th, if you want to check that out. It's coming soon. The trailer for the movie is fine. It's one of those things where it's like, it's kind of Until Dawn coded, but it's not really. It seems like they're just using the Until Dawn branding to sell it to people who like the game, because there is nothing about this movie that is similar in any way to the game. Obviously, it's a whole different cast of characters to start off, which I understand. It's not they're not going to be able to get like everyone being the same, right? But the entire concept of this movie seems to be very different from the game itself, which you obviously don't want to follow the story of the game one for one, because then you have a boring movie for people who have already played the game. So obviously they're not going to do exactly the same thing, but you feel like they should probably do something similar enough. So what they've decided to do is it's a time loop mechanic where once every kid or teenager or whatever they're supposed to be dies, their day gets reset, kind of like Happy Death Day, and then they start again. But the big twist is that every day is different, so it's not the same killer every day. It's not the same monster every day. It's not the same. Sometimes it's not even the same like location. I guess like sometimes like things change in the house or something like that. So that's the big twist of the movie, which I feel like they probably should have kept under wraps for maybe a little bit longer, because that really does spoil some things for you. But essentially, once they loop back around, they apparently have like 13 days to escape, because no one has ever gone more than 13 days. You sign into the book and it adds your name to like this book. So yeah, essentially, I guess I don't know if the idea of like if you survive one night you're good to go and you can leave, or if you survive you win, or if no one has survived until the 13th because of, or the 13th day because I don't know, because they all suck. I don't know, or maybe one person always escapes on the 13th day. It's hard to say, but Yeah, I mean, it does look a bit campy. I think the effects look decent. They don't look bad at all. I think the framing and like the light, it does look like maybe more of like a B movie at times because of the lighting and some of the various things in there. But I mean, it could have some like interesting concepts to it. Of course, I think it could definitely do some interesting things with it. I do feel like it maybe is going along with something we've already seen. Like I already mentioned, Happy Death Day. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. They also showed off that there's Wendigos in this, so that's good because that's like a major part of Until Dawn. They also showed like this worm thing that burrows into this girl's face, and she like turns into like you remember in Cloverfield how like the one girl gets like bitten and she like her eyes turn black and her skin starts to like decay or whatever. Kind of the same thing happens here with this girl. So it might be. I mean, we'll probably go see it. I mean, it's not. I mean, I am interested, even if it's not like Until Dawn, like actually Until Dawn. I mean, it still seems pretty good. They also said the line, Bart. They said the line. They said in the trailer, they said, if we want to survive, we must make it until dawn, which is, obviously like they said the line until dawn. There you are. So maybe this trailer showed off a bit too much, but I think it looks fine, or at least good for what it is. And we'll probably, get another trailer later on. I probably won't even talk about it because I probably won't want to watch that trailer. They already showed off enough in this one, but yeah, I'll probably go see it. Probably talk about it here in the future. Yeah, it might be a fun time. I mean, I know I feel like the reception of this has kind of been mixed. It's been like 50-50. Half the people kind of hate the idea. Half the people kind of, are enjoying what they see. I'm kind of on the fence here. I'm kind of hedging my bets right now. Like, I don't know if it's going to be good or bad, but I am interested in at least seeing it. So, yeah, that's something, I guess. Duh, it's Conan the Barbarian. He's joining Mortal Kombat 1's DLC roster this coming week. So Conan will be available on the 21st of January. You'll be able to play as Arnold Schwarzenegger's Conan the Barbarian. And they did get a voice actor for the role. They seem to do a pretty good job of the bells and all that stuff. I obviously was not the one chosen for that. But I think they did a great job with Conan. His moveset seems very focused on just being like very brutal, heavy swings. They meticulously designed his sword play. He has a very cool X-ray as well, where he like stabs the sword into the guy's foot, and then he like pushes the guy's head onto the pommel of the blade of the sword, which like breaks his jaw. His fatality was also pretty cool. There's like a pot of boiling water behind the guy or whatever that is, goo, I don't know. And he shoves his sword into the person's face and shoves them into the boiling stew. And then he rips off their head at the end. I thought that was actually a pretty good fatality. His animality is him turning into a bull, which is kind of cool too. Also, along with Conan is what's the character's called? So they seem to have teamed him up with Red Sonja, which I'm not sure what the backstory is behind that, but that is the cameo fighter apparently for Conan's DLC pack. But yeah, I mean the game the sword play looks good. Conan the Barbarian looks good, and apparently the voice work was done by a guy named Chris Cox. Sorry. He also voiced Arnie as the Terminator in Mortal Kombat 11, which I don't think he did a great job for that version, but for Conan, he actually sounds pretty good. So there you go. Yeah, I mean, it looks good. I mean, the Conan the Barbarian looks good. I think they did a great job with the DLC pack or at least the DLC characters for this pack. I feel like the characters have been all good, especially like Ghostface and Conan here now. Obviously, they were a bit more. I don't know, kind of like they were a bit more meticulous with I think the Conan Barbarian moveset, but looks good. And once again, you can buy Conan separately, or you can have him as part of the DLC pack featuring Ghostface, T-1000, and the other 3 Mortal Kombat characters that they've already added to the game. So there you go. PGA Tour 2K25. It's coming, folks. Tiger Woods is, of course, on the cover once again, because why not? This game looks about the same as the last, 20 or so PGA games that have been on the PS4 all the way to the PS5. I really don't see much of a difference here, and they didn't really talk about any differences. Let's see here. Enjoy putts, pars, and precision like never before in PGA Tour 2K25, the newest iteration of the highest-rated golf sim in franchise history. I'm sorry, iteration of the highest-rated golf sim franchise of the decade. In the a 2K franchise first, make a name for yourself in 3 prestigious majors: the PGA Championship, the US Open, and the Open Championship. Personalize your game with expanded My Career, My Player, and course designer options, and challenge friends across ranked, casual, and cross-platform multiplayer. They're selling this for $70. Look, I don't think that graphically it looks about the same as the last one that I played, which was free on PlayStation Plus a couple years ago, which I think was like 23 or 22. I don't see the reason why they're selling this for such a steep price. I mean, look, PGA fans, people who are a fan of the series, obviously they're going to be happy about this, right? For me personally, for a person who just kind of like, just kind of casually plays a golf game if he so desires, it doesn't look that different from what we've already had. Like, sure, they're adding in some new courses, right, with the US Open and whatever, but I mean, graphically, I think that this should look better graphically. From what they've shown, it doesn't look great. It looks about the same as what they have in the past, and I'm not seeing a reason why I would personally go out and spend $70. But if you are a fan of golf and you're a fan of the PGA, go ahead, go for it. It's coming out on the Xbox and PlayStation on February 28th, and you can get early access on the 21st by buying the deluxe edition of the game, which will launch on February 21st. If you pre-order the game, you get a couple of pre-order bonuses, including a extra butter Adidas jacket, extra butter Adidas hat, and extra butter Adidas shoes, along with Chris McDonald as a playable character who I believe was the guy from Happy Gilmore, if I'm not mistaken, right? I'm not sure. Well, there you go. Okay, a game that came out, I feel like this came out in like 2023, called Laika Age Through Blood. This was a hardcore Metroidvania where you drive around on a motorcycle and you have to block bullets with the motorcycle and then shoot with a gun. It's a very complicated game. I tried it out and I got very confused with the control scheme and decided to drop it. But it's a motorbike Metroidvania. It's finally coming to Switch on the 30th of January. So if you want to check that out, that'll be available soon. Vehicular combat on a fast and agile motorbike. A beautiful hand-painted post-apocalyptic world. A deep story about a mother-daughter relationship, vengeance and loss. A varied world, epic boss battles, and loads of missions. The very first Motorvania. So, I thought that this was going to be right up my alley. Metroidvania, something unique in the genre, motorbikes, kind of like a Mad Max style. But I just couldn't really grasp the controls of the game well enough to be competent at it. And I got to the first boss fight of the game, and it was cool, but I was just dying over and over. And I was like, you know what, maybe I'll check back in on this later. I mean, I thought the game was good for what it's worth. I think that a lot of people will probably enjoy it. I just really couldn't get into it myself. But hey, it is coming to Switch, so if you want to check it out, that'll be available the 30th of January, 2025, if you want to check that out. All right, here are the 11 games coming to PlayStation Plus and extra premium tiers next week. Next week, huh? So here are your PlayStation Plus extra games. We got God of War Ragnarok, Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name, Atlas Fallen, Reign of the Sand, SD Gundam Battle Alliance, Sayonara, Wild Hearts, Anno Mutanium, Orcs Must Die 3, Citizen Sleeper, and Poker Club. Out of these games, definitely play God of War Ragnarok. If you haven't played the 2018 game, I would suggest doing that first. The Man Who Erased His Name, I played about a couple hours of that. I was iffy on the experience. Sayonara Wild Hearts, a pretty good indie game. Orcs Must Die 3, a very good defense game. Very good game. And I hear good things about Citizen Sleeper, of course. And then in the premium tier, we got 2 games here. Both of them are PS2 games, I'm pretty sure. So we got... I shouldn't say that. Indiana Jones and the Staff of Kings, which was a PS2 game, and Medieval 2, which was a PS1 game. So Indiana Jones and Staff of Kings, I played that on the channel on Twitch last year. It was fine. I hope it has trophy support. I feel like this would be a good game for trophy support. And then Medieval 2, I've never played that one, but it is a sequel to Medieval. If you want to check that out, that's coming on PlayStation Plus Premium next week on January 21st. And then here are 6 games leaving Xbox Game Pass on the 31st of January. We got a new card, Broforce, Darkest Dungeon, Death's Door, Maquette, and Serious Sam, Siberian Mayhem. I mean, technically, all these games besides from the first one I said, I've played and I've enjoyed. Broforce, Darkest Dungeon, Death's Door, Serious Sam, Marquette. It's like a puzzle game. It's decent. So I would suggest checking out any of these games on Xbox Game Pass before they leave. Number 1 on here would be Death's Door, Broforce, and Serious Sam. The rest of them kind of being in a pile underneath that. But I would definitely check these games out. All these games are pretty short too, so it won't take you 3 weeks to complete them. You could probably knock out Death's Door in a couple days, Broforce in a couple days, Serious Sam in a couple days. So you definitely have time if you want to check those out. Darkest Dungeon a bit longer, Maquette a little bit longer as well, but there you go. All right, let's get to what's have I been playing this past week. I just realized I might not have done a transition for the news. I went from the Switch 2 into the next article. My bad. I'm not going to fix it if I did get it wrong. All right, let's talk about some games I've been playing this past week. One of the first ones is Dynasty Warriors Origins. I went into this game. I'm not a big Dynasty Warriors guy because I've never really played them. The only Dynasty Warriors game I played was some random one on a Xbox 360 kiosk at a Kmart back when the 360 was new. That kiosk had like Peter Jackson's King Kong, the Dynasty Warrior game, and like Lego Batman or something like that. So I don't remember much about that experience. I just remember riding on a horse and going to different points on the battlefield and fighting all the enemies there, which is exactly what you do throughout every single Dynasty Warrior games from my knowledge base. Dynasty Warriors Origins is really no different. If you like the gameplay of Dynasty Warriors, you're going to like this game because it is pretty much exactly what you would expect from a Dynasty Warrior game. You play as a character, and you just kill, you fight just tons of enemies, like thousands of enemies. There's sometimes you'll be getting like 2,000 to 5,000 enemy KOs. So they definitely kept that that theme of like just fighting copious amounts of enemies intact. And with this new technology, I think this is like the first game on the PS5 and Xbox Series X and stuff, right? So they have definitely upped the ante with having the number of enemies be even more so astronomical. And with that, like, I don't know what exactly was in the last other Dynasty Warrior game, so I'm going to talk about this like everything's new. But they have like these massive battle moments where the enemy commander will be leading his group of soldiers, and it'll just be like, it's like just like an entire screen full of enemies that you are fighting, and they also have like their commanders mixed in there as well. So it's just one of those things that's it's very grandiose. One of the last mission of Chapter 1 is like awesome, like awe-inspiring, awesome, like just completely ridiculous at times. With the way that it goes, and I was hooked by this game very quickly. Dynasty Warriors Origins, even though the story is not super interesting, I think that the gameplay kind of speaks for itself. And even though it is very much a hack and slasher, it doesn't have too much going on in terms of like a variety for your moveset. Well, I shouldn't say that actually, because there are different weapons you can use for various movesets. So it does have a good weapon variety in there that does change your moveset, but the base sword gameplay kind of feels the same as most other sword gameplays. And obviously there's combos you can do, and there are special moves you can do. You can also go into a rage mode as well and take out enemies. That is like the kind of like cookie cutter, kind of like basic there. But you get these other weapons like the spear, the staff, the gauntlets, which is just like fighting with your fists. You get like these ring blades. There's also a pole sword or whatever it's called. And And all those have a unique move set, and they have some unique things going on. They also have unique abilities as well that you can use with them. The one that I'm using right now, which is like this, it almost looks like a I don't even know how to describe it. The special moves for it are kind of fantasy based. So like you do like the L1 and triangle, and it does like a fire wave in front of you. So that's been very fun to use. I haven't used the bow staff yet, but that's the next one I'm going to try out. It's just a very bombastic and larger than life game. Can it get a bit stale as you're playing it? Sure, it can get a bit stale while you're playing it, which take regular your breaks. It's not that big of a deal to take a break from a game when you're starting to feel a bit burnt out on it. I played for I feel like I was playing for 4 to 5 hours straight the day that it came out. I was having so much fun with it, and then I played for another 4 to 6 hours the next day as well. After playing Red Dead Redemption and doing all the stuff with my streaming, I was still really hooked on this game. I have not played it yet today, but I can foresee myself playing another couple hours today as well. It's just one of those games that kind of hooked me, and I've never really played a Dynasty Warriors game, so everything was fresh and new for me. I know the concept of Dynasty Warriors, and I know what it's all about, but actually getting it in your hands and playing it is a very nice experience, I will say. And, I might look into, what's the best Dynasty Warrior games. And if you know what the best Dynasty Warrior games are, please put them in the comments below or on the Discord, something like that. I would love to check them out because this is a series that I've not really dived into until this game. And I would love to play more of them because this is a really fun experience. Every battle is just it's just so much fun. Even though a lot of it is the same thing where it's okay, you start out the battle and you attack these forts and you take out these commanders and then you move to the big bad guy at the end. It's all just so satisfying. It's a very strategy based as well because you need to help out your allies, and if a certain ally dies, you might lose the match or whatever. So it is very strategic. It is very fun. I'm really enjoying my time with it. I don't know if I was worried going into it, but I was kind of I don't know if I'm gonna like this. I don't know if I should be spending the $60 on this because I don't really know the Dynasty Warriors series. And it's just been a really great time. And I don't know if it's exactly like the last one or if it has done new things, but everything feels fresh to me. And I guess that's part of the reason why maybe I'm not the best source of information for this game, because if Dynasty Warriors Origins is just copy paste from the last game, maybe if you're a Warriors fan, you might not like that. But I don't know if it is. If this feels very fresh to me, it feels very good to me because I've never played a Dynasty Warriors all the way through in my life. So yeah, maybe take whatever I'm saying with a grain of salt. If you are a Dynasty Warriors fan, you've played multiple Dynasty Warriors, it could be very similar to the last one. And if you like that sort of gameplay, obviously this one's going to speak to you as well. They have expanded out the story more than I could remember from any other Dynasty Warrior games that I've heard about. But once again, the story isn't the big selling point for this at all. It's fine, it's serviceable, it gets you through the game, but it's nothing that I'm super crazy about. But the combat and the gameplay is where I am most hooked, and that's kind of where I leave this because I even though I've played I feel like I played 10 or so hours of the game so far, I feel like I've really kind of just scratched the surface there, or maybe dug a little bit into the hole of the game. And right now it's been pretty good with varying up the locations. You don't just fight in the same location every time you fight. It's also been pretty good at just kind of throwing side content at you here and there, even though a lot of side content does repeat because it is a random encounter or whatever. It's not like it forces you into the fight at all. You can kind of choose to play it or not. You go against you do this one side mission and you have to hunt down the Barbarian leader. And there's 5 packs of enemies, and you got to kind of find out which one has the Barbarian leader and then take him down. That one does show up a couple times. It does show up a lot. It's not, and that's the other thing too is you kind of you do these, and it's more so for XP. So it's really not that important in the long run. But I think that in terms of action-packed hack and slash games, strategy games, this one is definitely very good, and I'm definitely very much enjoying my time with it, and I will talk about it more probably next week or whenever I end up finishing it. Obviously, I don't know if this one's going to be a game that gets buried under other games that comes out. But I would like to get this game done before Like a Dragon Yakuza in Hawaii comes out, because I am very interested in playing that as well. Which are, I mean, these are two games, like the Like a Dragon series, aka Yakuza, and the Dynasty Warrior. These are two series that I've really not dived into. I mean, I played a bit of Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth and the original Like a Dragon, and I played a bit of Yakuza 0, but I've not really dived into it. So we'll see if I dive into the Hawaii one. Dynasty Warriors Origins, once again, haven't really dived into the Dynasty Warriors. I've played a demo and I've watched some gameplay, but I've never dived into it. And now I've actually dived into it, and I'm very happy with it. So hopefully that's the same thing happens for Like a Dragon Yakuza. But once again, I would like to try and get this game done in the next like week or so, just so I can get prepared for the other things coming out. And I didn't even touch Donkey Kong this week. I was gonna play Donkey Kong Country Returns on stream, and I was gonna play that instead of Pokemon Sword, but I ended up playing Pokemon Sword because the game was delayed due to weather. I haven't even broken the seal on the box yet, so I'll probably end up playing that mix match in there as well as we go along. So that is that Dynasty Warriors Origins. I would give it a thumbs up right now. I honestly 2 thumbs. The only thing that I really don't like about the game is the story is just kind of like mediocre at times, and it's fine, it's serviceable, but that's about all it is for me personally. But there you go. I was also playing the last Berserker Khazan, the demo for it. And I went to this going, I don't know if I'm going to like this. I mean, I like the art style, and I like, Ben Starr is voicing the main character. That's awesome. But I was like, I'll play the demo, see how it is. Well, wouldn't you know it, the demo has sold me on it. I don't know if I want to play more of it. This demo is actually pretty big. I think it's like a 30 gig or 20 gig download. The demo does give you a lot of content. I have made it past the first boss, and I'm in like the next area, and I just don't know if I want to keep going, because I want to kind of keep it fresh for when I actually play the game for real, not just a demo. So I might stop playing it here and just kind of wait for the game to come out. I think the game comes out in like February or March, so it's not too long from now. But if you have not played the demo and you're a Souls-like person, this might be a game that you want to check out. It does have some Souls-like stuff in there that you'll recognize from other games. It seems to also blend in some Bloodborne mechanics, like charged hits, and it has like a very similar dodging mechanic where you're not like rolling, you're kind of like sidestepping at times. So it does take some inspiration from Bloodborne a little bit as well. The main thing, though, is that the character does use like these 2 weapons, the sword and the axe, for like the first part of the game, and then you get like a long sword later on, which has a completely different moveset, mind you. I was enjoying the sword and the axe so much that I've decided to keep the sword and the axe, but I could see people using that long sword too, and I'm sure there's other weapons in the game as well. Yeah, I mean, the first area for the game was very good, a very good setup kind of area. The second part of the second area of the game so far has been a bit more challenging, obviously, but it's been a lot of fun to kind of work my way through. The first boss of the game was very cool. It was like this Yeti with spikes on its back, and I thought that his moveset was very good, like very meticulously designed and also very versatile. I was very surprised that a lot of times bosses have a moveset where it's like very obvious, like, okay, he does a frontward attack. And no matter what, if you go around behind him and start hitting him, he'll do another frontal attack because that's just his moveset. This Yeti guy, like he would do like his frontal attack with like his fists, and like if you went around behind him to try and get some easy hits on him, he would flop backwards onto you. And I was like, whoa, that's really cool. And the next time he did the big frontal attack, I stayed in front of him, and he did this swipe as he was backing away from me. I was like, damn, they really meticulously designed this shit. So that is a good sign. That is a very good sign. This is going to be a good, tough Souls-like game with a very rewarding system to it. And I was very happy with the way that it was playing. I enjoyed the combat style, and I enjoyed the other mechanics mixed in there as well. Eventually, you get like this spear that's like, you take this spear and you form it out of like your blood or something like that, and you can throw it at enemies and do damage to them. I thought that was a very cool idea. There seems to be a good amount of enemy variety in here as well so far. Obviously, with it being a demo and being not like a sliver of the game, I'm probably not going to see too much, but it is a game that I was very much enjoying the demo, and I think that I will end up getting the full experience when it comes out. And I was probably going to get the full experience anyway because it did look pretty cool from what they showed off. And I think this is a perfect way to play the game too, and check it out, see if you like it, because it's not just like that first area up to the first boss fight. Like they definitely give you a good chunk of the game to mess around with and try out, and they also give you plenty of mechanics that the monkey around with as well. So very cool, very enjoyable so far. Check it out. The demo is free on Steam and other platforms as well. So definitely check that out if you want to. And as I hinted at earlier, Pokemon TCG App. I've been playing around with that. I actually have it loaded up right now because I was going to open up a card pack on the podcast here. I very much enjoy the card pack opening experience, and from what I've seen online so far, I wanted to buy another booster box of Pokemon cards. I ended up getting a cheaper Yu-Gi-Oh box back in the day, but it was one of those things where it's like Pokemon cards have ballooned in price, especially the boxes. I used to get those Pokemon boxes for like $120, and I thought that was a fair price for how many packs you got. Now it's like Pokemon card boxes are like $180, and it's just like, wow, this is like crazy amount of money to put into this. So the TCG app actually allows you to open up card packs, have the satisfaction of opening up a card pack. Obviously, you don't get the physical feel of the cards in your hands, but it does give you that satisfaction of opening a card pack, getting something cool, or maybe not. You know, it's totally up in the air. But essentially, you open up an account, and it immediately is like, hey, you can start opening card packs. You get one card pack per like 12 hours for free. You also have these time boosts as well. And then also you have this thing where it's like if your friend or if someone on, who, I don't know, if they're near you or whatever, open up a card pack, you can spend another currency to open up their card pack and try and, or it's weird. It's like it shows you all the cards they got from the pack, and then it shuffles them around, and you can't really tell where each card is. So you kind of pick randomly one card from their pack to have in your collection, which is you get one of those for free every day as well too, and I believe they get let me look in the app here. They get added to your account like every 4 hours or something like that. I'm not sure exactly, but yeah, essentially, if you look, I mean, if you want to see, you see the pack of cards that someone opened on your friends list, and you spend one of these little heart things on it, and then you can. I'll just do it right now. Let's do it right now. We'll do a wonder pick. So essentially, it loads up the cards, it shuffles them, and then you pick you pick a random one. And I always go with the bottom right for whatever reason. So I got a Elgium. I don't know what that is. And then you swipe up to put it into your collection. And yeah, there it goes. It got put into my binder. So it's a fun little mechanic there. It's not too bad. The app is very loud, so I would be worried about that. So I opened up a card pack from Demonic Lucy so I could send them thanks. It is a very loud app for some reason. And then obviously if you want to buy, you want to refresh, you have to buy things. So essentially. I don't know how much money it is, but you spend like gold or something like that on them. I'm not going to do anything like that because I just don't want to, but you can essentially buy more hourglasses and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and move over to the card packs because I would like to open a card pack on the podcast here. So I've been opening up the Genetic Apex ones, but I'll do a Mythical Island one for you guys here. So you click on the booster pack, and it gives you a couple in like a circle that you can choose from, and depending on which one you choose, you can open up them. I usually just do a random one. Callus was saying that sometimes there would be a bent corner on a card pack. I haven't really seen that, but yeah, essentially you click on it, and then you swipe across your screen to open it up, and there we go. We got a Snivy, and a Florges, and a Finneon. Ooh, and an Execute. And usually this is the last one. We got a Magmar, which I guess is like a basic rare. But yeah, there you go. We got all those cards, and now we put them into our binder. And of course, there's daily missions to do as well, which give you currencies and stuff like that. So, once again, I got 50 cards in my collection now. Once again, it's just a fun thing to kind of give you that satisfaction of opening up a card pack. And of course, if you want to spend the money, you can spend the money if you so desire. I'm probably not going to spend any money on it myself, but you can if you want. But yeah, I thought that I think that's a pretty fun app. It's decently well done. It's well done, and it does give you that satisfaction of opening up card packs. So, what can you do? And then, other than that, I played a game called Wipeout Pure. Callus and I played this game actually. Callus played it, and I was like, yeah, I might as well, try it out, see what he's talking about here. And I pretty much agreed with what he said. It's a pretty tough little racing game. I was getting the hang of it. I even though I was still bumping into walls and stuff at times, I was getting the hang of like the crafts and stuff like that. Each one kind of has their own like speed and stuff like that. It's a futuristic racing game on the PSP, and the Wipeout series has been pretty good. The one that's on the PS4 is very good, but those tracks are like they're big, they're wide. You can kind of go kind of as fast as you want. It's almost like F-Zero in a way, like with that kind of thing going on. I felt like it was more of like a pod racer experience in my opinion, but whatever. And yeah, essentially you race across these tracks, but the PSP version is so condensed. It's very much a hamper to the experience. So the courses are very narrow, and they don't give you a lot of room to breathe. The other pilots in the game seem to have I don't know exactly how to describe it. They seem to have a certain distance they need to travel. So like you start off a race, and you can maybe pass up three of the cars, and they will usually pass you up again, but then slow down because they have a certain place that they're supposed to be on the track when you meet them, kind of thing. That seems to happen a lot, and especially on the harder difficulties, it just becomes way too difficult. I was playing on one of the harder difficulties. I hit my opening boost, and I hit every single boost on the course, and I still got like 8th place. And I was like, there ain't no way I'm fucking doing this, because that was like a perfect run. I was right there, and it just didn't work out. The game is fun for what it's worth, for a little while, but it does get a little bit frustrating, especially when like the other racers will use like items against you. The one that was the most detrimental was the disruptor, because that literally like shuts down your race car and makes you go like in an opposite direction of where you want to go. And I got hit with that 9 times out of 10 at the worst location, whether it be on a jump or on a turn, and I would get stuck, and I would have to turn my craft around real slowly and try and get back up. And I was just there were times where I was like livid, because they would just have the perfect item at the right time. And there's other items as well, like a booster and a rocket and a whatever. But who really cares? Wipeout Pure. I think I gave it like a 3 out of 5. It's a decent time for a Wipeout game, but because it's got that, it's on the PSP. It's limited. It has the same like 6 or 8 tracks over and over and over again. It just became very repetitive and just not as much fun as I was hoping it was going to be. So yeah, I gave it a 3 out of 5, and I won't be going back to this one. If I'm going to play a Wipeout game, it's going to be the one that I already own on the PS4 and PS5. So there you go. We also played and beat Ratchet & Clank Size Matters. This was the PSP game that came out before Secret Agent Clank, and it's actually much better than Secret Agent Clank. Size Matters played much better. It had strafing. Wow, what a charming thing to put into a game. But yeah, essentially it was a bite-sized Ratchet & Clank game. What can I say? It had some pretty cool weapons. It had some decent level design, and it had a good story to it. But the problem with the game was that the weapons didn't seem to pack enough of a punch. Either that or the enemies were much too tanky for their own good. So it made weapons that would be fun in any other Ratchet & Clank game, like the Sheepinator or the Suck Gun, the vacuum gun, made them a bit annoying to use because the enemies were too powerful to be sucked up, or they took too long to turn them into a cow, and this game was a cow ray gun. It just took too long, and you got hit too many times because you were trying to do that, and there wasn't really a way to focus in on an enemy unless you got like an upgrade. So it was a bit of a rough experience at times, especially with the hoverboarding sections. I thought the hoverboarding sections were abysmal. They were slow and boring, and they just didn't seem to work too well. There was also some other mini games that I thought were kind of fun. Like there's this one where it was like a demolition derby or a Robobot war, and you were playing as Clank, and you had like different vehicles to use. There was another one that was pretty boring, which was this one where you grab like a robot and you throw it through a goalpost to get points. It was kind of dumb. But the other one was like a strategy thing where you guided the little tiny like the robot minions into the various doorways. So I thought that one was actually pretty good. All in all, I mean, it was a decent time. I wouldn't say that it was bad, and it's definitely worth playing in my opinion. I think that in general it's worth playing. But it doesn't top. I mean, it's better than Secret Agent Clank, but it's easy to be better than Secret Agent Clank. I don't think I would put it above any of like the original Ratchet and Clank games. Like even some of the more less liked ones like Deadlocked and stuff like that. I feel like this would still go below those ones. It would probably go above like All for One and Full Frontal Assault when I get around to playing those. But as of right now, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. I thought it was a decent time at least. And yeah, that's all I got to really say about that. And I said this was going to be a mini episode, but it turned into a longer one. So what do you know? I lied. I'm sorry. But thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. Let's go ahead and move on and listen to the song of the day. If you know the song's name and the game that it came from, let me know in the comments below on YouTube, and I'll give you a heart and a congratulations. Or you can go over to the Discord and talk in the Ferret64 section, and I will give you a super reaction, and you will get the admiration of your peers. Let's go ahead and listen to today's song right now. Okay, if you know the song name and the game that came from, let me know in the places that I told you. All right, folks, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. I know this is 2 episodes in a short time span, but you gotta do what you gotta do, especially for weeks like this where there's a big announcement like the Switch 2. But I appreciate everyone listening. If you want to check out the top 10 games of 2024, that's the last episode. Just scroll back a little bit, or go to my channel and scroll a little bit. It's pretty obvious which one it is, which video that is. Also, if you want to check out the other podcast I do, it's called Film Freaks with a Z at the end. We talk about movies. The latest episode is about Soul from 2022. And we had a special guest on for that one, if you want to check that one out. I also stream on Twitch Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. We're playing Red Dead Redemption 2, and we're swapping it out with Pokemon Sword right now. So 2 very different games. But I'm very much enjoying Red Dead so far, and Pokemon Sword was a surprising fun time. The first, we've only done 1 stream of it so far, but it was a fun time so far. So, yeah, if you want to check me out there, you can do that there. All right, folks, thank you so much for listening once again. I am Yemmy the Ferret, and I'm out of here. So long.
The Ferret64 podcast is owned and edited by Yemmy the Ferret. Small sound clips used throughout the podcast were made by Yemmy the Ferret. The song in the intro and outro is Nightshade by Adhesive Wombat. The Ferret64 logo was made by Player2P2. News sources include PushSquare.com, NintendoLife.com, and PureXbox.com. All opinions, video game related, are my own. Thank you for listening.